Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is doing very well. I was thinking about creating this lecture since a long time. I think I should have been done it in the very beginning, but nevertheless, here we are. And so I named it this lecture, especially Art of Programming. Essentially, I should be calling this Art of Programming. The computer programming is nothing but writing poems for computers. As simple as that. So once you know the language, once you know the system, once you know certain rules, you think very simple. You think like an artist. Okay. So in this lecture, we're going to be learning about how we can structure our program. Okay. So the students who are not familiar with programming, I think this is very important for them or for anyone in general to organize your thoughts and practice it. Okay, so let's get it started. All right. So I'm gonna take an example of a software or program on which I was working a few years ago. It goes to the area of electronic design automation software tool. It's a big program. However, I will just show you a few basic things. So let's talk about, so I have this top level main file where I have defined bunch of, header files, some ifdefs. I have talked about the header files and ifdef in one of my computer programming lecture. The idea for this lecture here is to introduce you how you can organize, say for example, the main program. You should keep in mind that it should have the main function in C++. We have this main function with the input arguments that way. Okay. And then it's defining bunch of files for input output log files and whatnot, certain variables, initializing certain objects, you know some functions, calling some functions, log files, and bunch of other things like whole system definitions or basic commands at a user level which you want to define. So this program basically what it does, it reads out the netlist. Netlist is nothing but the when we do design integrated circuits. So the people who are in VLSI area, they are familiar with the netlist. So this program reads the netlist, the information about different nets which are connected with the different gates or transistors in a chip design, and then does the analysis of thermal estimation. So it's a good idea to keep this file very short as much as you can and call the other functions in this file. Okay. All right, so this was the header file. Now let's talk about what these different header files look like. Okay, so I'm gonna open up a header file, ember a structure. For example, this header file structure.h. How does it look like? So it is defining the class, okay, the different members of this class, okay, class type, okay, then the functions which this class will have, okay, and bunch of other things, private and public members. Now what this corresponding CPP file will have is the definition of the different functions used in this class. For example, set sf element id. Okay, so this takes in some input of type code, which is we have defined this type. So in simple way, basically, the idea here is to separate out the function definitions and function declarations in two files, okay? And then call the header file wherever you want to use those functions, okay? Now, let's have a look at some other function or some other header file. System.h, for example. So in this system.h, I have defined some functions. For example, creating substrate node or zero layer, or some other functions, build netlist and all. Now, these are declarations which you can have, or I mean, ideally you should be having in a header file to make your life simple. Template definitions, if you are using that way, I would suggest that make use of templates, function templates, or how you can make full use of object-oriented approach, blah blah blah. Now let's have a look at what this corresponding CPP file would have. This corresponding CPP file would have the definitions, okay? Definitions of all those different functions what we have here. For example, okay, this function, let's search this function. So the header file here, this function, the header file declares the function, and CPP file has the definition of this function, what this function is doing, okay? So you got the basic idea about header files and CPP files, okay? Okay, got the basic idea. Now let's have a look at the compilation, okay? How these things are getting compiled, okay? So for compilation, we have created a makefile, okay? So at this shell level, you just make the makefile executable, and just execute the makefile. So this makefile will compile all your CPP files. For example, here we are compiling ember analysis.cpp, and we have defined this bunch of variables. For example, CC stands for GCC, and C flags stands for C++, compiler flags, and the path of the CPP file. And what is the output? The object file. Now, after compilation, the linker would link all those object files which you have in your software system, and will give you the final executable output file, okay? So this is how you should start practicing and organizing your C++ programs, all right? Now let's go back and see what we learned. We learned key points. Think in terms of writing functions for a smallest possible task you can think of when you're, architecting your software system, or, writing programs. Think in terms of a smallest function, a smallest task for which you can write the functions, okay? Now, another thing is that keep the function declarations in header file and implementation in C++ file, okay? Or in other words, declaration in header file and the definitions in C++ file, .cpp file, okay? Maintain a top level, whatever name you want to call, main.cpp file, which calls other header files, and some minimal information you want to have. Or if you don't want to have that information, that's fine. You can create another function for that minimal information, which you should be asking some input from user, if at all you are doing that. And this is very important. Think simpler and cleaner. This is very important when you wanna talk about writing good programs. The computer science is very simple. Okay, it is the simplest thing one can have. The simpler person you are, the better the programmer you would be. It's something like that. Is if you are a complex person, you're not gonna think in terms of simple ways of doing things, and you can write a stupid program. Okay, complex program, a stupid program. But say, think about, if you always think simple things, you can write most amazing poetry for for computers. Okay, so always remember that I'll write it. We call it think different, but in terms of computer programming, I would say think simple. All right. Now, always make a practice of maintaining a makefile which compiles and links all your files and gives you a final executable file. Okay. So hope guys this lecture was useful for you, and thank you very much for watching this video. If you are struggling with programming, you may contact us for private lessons. And those who haven't subscribed, I would recommend you to subscribe the channel. This helps you to get notification as soon as I upload new interesting video for your learning, and also help us to improve, or to motivate for creating new interesting lectures for you guys. We are receiving your comments, your feedback, and that's just so wonderful. It's so amazing to see that you guys are liking LeProfesseur videos. Thank you once again, and don't forget to subscribe LeProfesseur YouTube channel. And always remember, programming is like writing poems for computers. Think about it. Have a wonderful day.